in a standalone fashion. Having said that, there's a lot of interaction we have on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, whether it's finance, whether it's in R&D, research and development, whether it's in quality, it's in procurement. We really leverage their skills and scale and abilities to help drive our business.
And how do you relate it to the stocks, the performance? Can you gauge? Can you give us any indicators since the happening, in 2008?
Sure. Well, GODIVA is private, okay? So we're a subsidiary of Yildiz, so we're not public entities, so we're private. But our growth has been very strong. So the last 2 years, we've had double-digit top-line growth, global, both in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. And we're tracking that way in 2012 as well.
In 2012. So going forward, look, now it's the second quarter. I know you're not a public company, private company, but do you foresee with Yildiz any other collaborations, any other, because you're the head of the strategy, any strategic collaborations maybe with other groups? Because Nissan Foods buys Balene's 50% from Yildiz for $23.5 million. They are very active.
Yildiz is very active. They're doing a lot of M&A work, whether they're looking at opportunities. So that's always out there.
How does it affect you, though?
Well, what we focus on the business. We have so many opportunities to drive GODIVA that's what we really focus on. If there are opportunities that are out there, we will talk about it with Yildiz and we'll evaluate it. But it doesn't distract us from running the business day to day for GODIVA, because there are so many opportunities for growth, both in the U.S. and outside of the U.S., whether it be Japan, Hong Kong, our entry into China, Europe, in London and Brussels. So tremendous opportunity, and we don't want to be distracted from that.
Can you tell us, our audience, about the reason you were at the American Turkish Consul? Did you see more opportunities coming from there, especially being in the Turkish market and meeting with the other executives from Turkey?
It was a great opportunity to just interact. We were part of a session in terms of U.S.-Turkish success stories, so that was good.
This is a success story.
It absolutely is, and it was great to be able to get out there and tell our story. It's exciting for us. Turkey is the second fastest growing economy behind China, and so our parent company grows. They have strong growth, and they expect that growth from us as well. So we're very excited to be part of the Yildiz family, to work with the Turks, and it's just a tremendous partnership.
And as you know, everyone is talking about the European banking and the financial crisis, and also its effect within the United States, especially the sales. Do you see GODIVA is being affected by that as well?
No, it's always something that we obviously have to evaluate in terms of the capital markets and our source of capital. Our business in Europe is small relative to the other regions. Really, Asia and the U.S. are our biggest markets, so we're not exposed that way.
In terms of percentage,
in terms of percentage of business,
yes.
We do have a very strong business in Europe, but it's a little bit smaller, but growing. But it's always something that we're looking for in terms of our capital and how we get capital to invest in the business. But we haven't seen it in terms of from the consumer perspective. Our same-store sales are still growing double digits, globally. So we're still seeing demand for our product, which we really attribute to the innovation that we're driving, to the new store design and all the visual merchandising, package design, all the work, and then the chef credentials and all the work we put into the product itself really drives our business.
And in terms of the drought that we lived the last couple weeks in the commodities, and especially in the food, the prices and the food prices and the concerns over the wheat, corn, cocoa, do you see that as a concern in the future?
It's always something that we have to not just be looking at now, but looking at down the road. So that would be one area where we partner very closely with Yildiz. They have scale, they have great abilities in these areas. So we talk on a daily basis, a weekly basis, on the cocoa markets, the sugar markets, just to understand, how do they see the markets, where are they today, where will they be tomorrow, and then what positions do we want to take to sort of make sure we optimize our position.
And do you have to travel to Turkey, and do they come here? How does it work, the whole communication? I'm just curious.
It's both. I'll go to Turkey. I go a couple times a year. They come here as well. We have board meetings, so we have a standalone board for GODIVA. So they come over very often, and we have board meetings. But there's a lot of travel back and forth. Our CEO, Jim Goldman, is in not just in Turkey, he's around the globe a lot at all of our operations. Our head of international, our head of North America is traveling. So we do have a lot of travel to Turkey and to other regions as well.
You must have a house in Turkey now, I bet.
Not quite, not
Not
yet.
yet, but we will see that.
Not
Okay.
yet.
You were talking about how targeted and focused you are in terms of using other channels. Is Godiva, would Godiva consider itself as being aggressive in terms of the marketing and the strategies, launching into the Starbucks, the supermarkets, and into all the markets, all the channels that sees it's possible? How do you, comment on that? What do you think about this?
It's a good question. That's something that we discuss all the time. It really depends on the region and the world where you are. We've sort of grown up as a retail business. We have over 600 retail stores globally, okay? A premium retail player, that's where our expertise is. Having said that, our strategy has changed to be more accessible, to be more relevant, to be where people shop. You just can't be in retail. You have to look at wholesale channels as well. So we spend a lot of time to understand the geography, the market. Where should we be? Where shouldn't we be?
Where should you be? Where shouldn't you be? How about being private versus public? Is there any possibility in the future?
I can't comment on that. Our job is to grow the business.
But I'm sure everyone is asking you.
That's fine, but we focus day to day on the business. If we drive the business and we drive growth and we continue to grow our profits at a greater rate than we're growing our top line, things will fall into place and the future will take care of itself.
You talked about being retail oriented. Retail sales came last week, and that's the reason even the growth numbers were reduced this week in terms of the GDP in the United States. Retail sales, consumer confidence, consumption, spending, they are going down. What does Godiva want to do to prevent that, affecting the company's operations?
What we have
Bottom
to do,
line.
we have to continue to innovate. We have to continue to bring things to the consumer that they want. When you do that as a consumer packaged goods company, as a company like Godiva, if you provide products to the consumers that they want, then you will grow. And it's difficult in this type of economy. We are a premium business, but we are a chocolate business. And a lot of discussion is about how chocolate is recession proof, but we're also premium, where they say, in a recession, people tend to wean off premium products. So we've been growing above the averages, and I attribute it to just the talent we have around the globe in terms of all the areas and our innovation. We've had tremendous innovation around our product.
Well put. Thank you so much. And here we have the chocolates. Now we're turning to Turkey.